This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, June the 8th, 2001, 20 years ago, Colorado won the Stanley Cup for the second time. It was a good cup. It was a good cup. I obviously picked Colorado because of my man, Patrick Waugh. He got another cup with the Avalanche. That makes 4 for him. 2 with Montreal, 2 for Colorado. Ray Bourque got his Stanley Cup 20 years ago. So, the main story about the 2001 season for Colorado was basically the fact that they wanted so desperately to get Ray Bourque his Stanley Cup. Ray Bourque was an icon for Boston for more than 2 decades, and he never got to raise the Stanley Cup. It's not for lack of trying. Boston got to a pair of Stanley Cup finals in his tenure, 88 and 90, but 88 they got swept by the Oilers, and 1990 they got taken up in 5 games by the Oilers, who surprisingly got to the Stanley Cup Finals basically due to the fact that they lost Gretzky. Grant Fuhrer was injured and all that. And basically, a lot of their 88 stars were not as good in 1990. But Messier put the team on his back and got them to that Stanley Cup. Boston, try as they might, had some great conference finals appearances, but Pittsburgh snuffed them out in 91-92 among others. So Boston basically felt that they felt bad. I mean, the fans felt like Bourque should be traded to a cup contender, which is weird because, he's been on the same team for 2 decades, and yet they didn't bat an eye saying he should be traded. They wanted him to be happy. What? See, Boston fans are not that bad. Yeah, right. Anyway, Boston decided to trade him to Colorado in 2000 for Dave Vanderstruck, among others. So basically, Bourque was trying his best to be part of the 2001 Avalanche squad. The 2001 Stanley Cup playoffs were memorable for many things. As everyone knows, Colorado beat New Jersey to win the Stanley Cup. But Ray Bourque, had that 21-year tenure in Boston, won the Stanley Cup in his final year. It was huge. Patrick Waugh was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, his third, the most of any player. But what was weird about the Stanley Cup playoffs that year was that nobody got a hat trick and goalies were hot. 19 shutouts. That's amazing. Okay, 19 shutouts in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And this is 2001. So over the East, the Devils were the number 1 team in the conference. They ran over Carolina in 6. They got pushed by a game Toronto squad and won Game 7, despite Scott Niedermayer being hurt by Ty Domi, and that was justified. Domi's suspension. And then the Devils crushing Pittsburgh into fine powder in 5 games in the conference final. Over in the West, Colorado was the 1 seed, and they had no problems with Vancouver. Los Angeles presented a massive problem for the team because everyone thought that the Avalanche were going to definitely do it. Their Avalanche were up 3 games to 1. All they had to do was win on home ice and get to the Stanley Cup semifinals. But LA shocked them 1-0. It was huge. And then the Kings took out the Avalanche again 1-0, this time in double overtime. Well, the goal was scored by Luc Robitaille. LA scored on a goal by Glenn Murray. Remember him from the days of the Boston Bruins? But anyway, the Avalanche picked themselves up and not only scored against the Kings, they scored 5 on Phillips Potvin, shocking them 5-1. Colorado would deal with the St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup semifinals. Despite losing in double overtime to St. Louis, Colorado picked themselves up and won back-to-back overtime games. Joe Sakic was the hero. So it was Colorado versus New Jersey. This was huge. And all that. This was the first time since 1989 that both regular season conference champions met in the final. That there wasn't both number 1 seeds, if you will. So the 2001 Stanley Cup Finals had some intriguing moments and all that. This is actually the only time in history this is the last time that both number 1 seeds from each conference went to the Stanley Cup final. Both went to the finals. So that's amazing. Now the Devils were the defending Stanley Cup champs. They did that in Game 6 against the Dallas Stars double overtime. goal by Jason Harnick. So Colorado was aiming to knock off the defending Stanley Cup champs. The weird thing was that Dallas, when they won the '99 Cup, the next year they got to the Stanley Cup Finals, but couldn't repeat as the Devils stopped them. So would Colorado do it? Obviously, we know. But here's the thing. The most intriguing storyline comes from the cities, New Jersey and Denver/Colorado. The New Jersey Devils used to play in Colorado, used to play in Denver. Yes, it's true. Well, they started out life as the Kansas City Scouts in 1974. After a couple of seasons, they decided to move to Colorado and set up shop. And yes, Don Cherry did coach a season for the Rockies back in 1980, but that's when they were the worst team in the NHL and had to give up their first round pick to the Habitants as a result of a trade in 1978. So the Rockies had troubles getting people to join their team, and basically they moved to New Jersey because the owners were in New Jersey. So basically, they started off like the Devils. They didn't get to the playoffs until 1988, and they needed a last-second overtime winner by John McClain to get to the playoffs over the Rangers. And then you got yourself the Devils using the neutral zone trap in the 90s to their advantage. So it was huge and all that. Game 1 saw the Avalanche crush the Devils in the Fine Powder 5-zip. Game 2 saw the Devils beat the Avalanche 2-1. Narrow winner. Colorado went to New Jersey in the Meadowlands to win 3-1 before losing 3-2 on home ice in Game 4. However, Game 5, the Devils crushed Colorado, and we thought game, set, match, the Devils have got it. However, the Avalanche went to New Jersey and shut them down 4-0. Second shutout of the series for Patrick Roy. And then it was Game 7. It was a massive Game 7. Ray Bourque did pretty well for himself. However, it was a youngster by the name of Alex Tanguay who basically stole the show, despite Peter Sikora scoring for the Devils. It was the Avalanche day. Tanguay scored 2 goals in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's weird seeing like unheralded players score 2 goals in a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals. We saw that in later years with Luza and Fedotenko in 2004 and Max Talbot in 2009. But man, that was huge. Sakic would score a power play goal to ice the game 3-1. Colorado won, and it was amazing. Gary Bourne's call on ABC. You know, he was really excited for Ray Bourque to get the cup. Joe Sakic was supposed to take the cup as the captain, but he passed it to Ray Bourque, and basically Ray Bourque finally got himself a trophy. It was amazing to see Ray Bourque carry the trophy, and the fans just become so exciting and all that. Players who got their names on the Stanley Cup for the 2001 team were this. Senators were Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Stefan Yell, Steven Reinpracht. Bet you didn't know he played on that team. And Chris Drury. Yes, that Chris Drury. Ranger fans will not be happy with him. Anyway, wingers were Chris Dingman, Dan Hinote, Dave Reed. Dave Reed was still playing. Milan Hajduk, Sean Bodine, Scott Parker, Eric Messier, Billy Newman, and Alex Tanguay. Eric Messier. Defensemen Brian Moore, Rod Blake, Greg DeFries, John Clem, Martin Scola, Nolan Pratt, Adam Foote, and Ray Bourque. The goalies were Patrick Roy and David Abisher. All that. Abisher ended up being the first player born and trained in Switzerland to win the Stanley Cup. Brian Moore played 3 playoff games for the Avalanche. Like, he was called up from the minors mid-season. One key name. Yeah, Peter Forsberg won the cup. But after 22 years, Raymond Bourque. Man, that was a great time to be a fan of the Avalanche because of everything else. Ray Bourque finally got his cup. He got his whale. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.